Okay, so a couple, 4 weeks ago, I was sitting at dinner next to Karen Candlin, and I knew that she had purchased a flute from Dick about the same time I bought my first one. And I started talking to her about the flute. And I said, Karen, I have 5 flutes now. And she looked at me and she said, why? That was not an unreasonable question. Indeed, I had asked it of myself many times, because you would think that someone would purchase one flute, figure out whether they were capable of playing it well and well enough to enjoy playing it, and then would contemplate buying a second flute. But I said to Karen, I will tell you how it came to be that I have 5 flutes, and now I will tell you folks. So when I decided that I wanted to play the flute, I went over to see Dick and his flutes, and I picked the one that I liked the best, and it was a big one that had a nice deep sound. And he said, well, you know, the bigger they are, the deeper the tone, the harder they are to play. But he looked at my hands and he said, well, I think you have pretty large hands. And oh my God, I didn't know, you know. I thought they were just hand-sized. He said, I think I can make you an E flute that you will be able to play, E minor actually. So he made me a flute of holly, and it was a very nice flute, but there was something wrong with it, and I don't even remember what that was. But he took it back, and when I got it back, actually I got back a D flute, which was a bit deeper, which was this flute. This is made of holly, and it has this, Dick carves these fetish animals, and this is a buffalo, a very handsome buffalo, but it's not just there for looks. Actually, this buffalo and the block that it stands on is a critical element of the flute, because you blow in this little hole at the end, and the air goes in, it goes up a little ramp, it goes through a slot that's the depth of a credit card, comes out the slot, plunges down into the flute, and it creates the sound. If you take the buffalo off, you've taken the roof off the slot, and basically all you have left is a stick with holes, no sound whatsoever. I don't know how it's going to work playing this thing, and I'm so nervous I don't know if I'll get any sound out of it. But I will attempt to just play a few notes for you so you know what it sounds like. Can you hear that? I don't know how to hear it. Anyway, D minor flute. However, while Dick was working on my E flute and turning it into a D flute, he loaned me one of his flutes so I could keep up my momentum of practice. And it was an F flute, a little bit higher of a tone than either a D or an E. It was this flute. This flute it has a bit of a higher pitch. It's beautiful wood. He thinks it's white pine. It has this, cute little bear here and these little turquoisey things down here. But because it's smaller and the holes are closer together and smaller, it's easier to play. And I basically decided that actually I needed this flute too. So I'll try to give you a bit of its sound. This was F minor, flute number 2. 2 flutes, you know, 2 flutes. That was good. But about that time, I began realizing that if I wanted to play duets with anyone, it really works best if you have the same key flute. And as it turned out, most people did not have D flutes or F flutes. What they had was G flutes, G minor. Faith Tuneman has a G flute, G minor flute. So of course I needed a G minor flute as well. And that would be this one. He made it for me. The wood is apple. I don't know where he gets all this wood. I think people give it to him or whatever. Anyway, this is apple. He asked me what animal I wanted as the fetish, and I said, well, I would like an elk. And he said, you know, I don't think I can do a bull elk for you because the antlers would break. They'd come off. And I said, I agree. He said, I can do a cow elk. And oh, that's good. So he carved this one. And to me, it's special because in September, this past September, I went with 10 members of my family to Estes Park, Colorado. And we had, or my sister had, she had custody of the ashes of 6 people, our parents, 2 aunts, an uncle, and a cousin. So we went to kind of a hillside in the national forest there, and we did a little ceremony, and that's a lot of ashes, I gotta tell you, but there were 11 of us, and we distributed the ashes. So to me, this cow elk is watching over my parents and my aunts and uncle and cousins' ashes there. Because what I didn't say, but the image in my mind is that as we were doing this, there was a herd of elk down below in the valley that we could see. So just to give you a couple of notes of the G minor flute with which I can play duets. This didn't work out, guys. Sorry. Well, anyway. Nice flute. So now I had 3 flutes. It was good. Life was good. However, I had started going to the flute circles that Dick runs over at the place he used to live. And I started hearing people talking about, and some of them playing, flutes made by a guy named Odell Borg and his company High Spirits Flutes. And High Spirits Flutes, he makes a lot of flutes. They're very standardized. The sound is very precise, very focused. There's no one-of-a-kind variabilities here with Odell's flutes. I started thinking about that, and kind of maybe my thinking wasn't real good, but I sort of thought that given the uncertainties of my playing, maybe if I had a flute that was absolutely certain, it would kind of override the problems with my playing. So I started spending my evenings on the sofa with my smartphone and my cat, exploring Odell Borg's website, which is truly an amazing website because he has all sorts of tutorials on there. And he must make 100 different flutes. We're talking, does this sound okay?
Yeah.
Okay. He makes over 100 different flutes. They're different keys, different woods, different styles. And for each of those flutes, you know, he does a little, he demonstrates it, you can click on it, he talks about the flute, he plays it, and there's often this kind of Southwest backdrop behind him. And I know it's fake, I know they're in a sound studio, and this is just a cheap poster of the Southwest, but I wanted to move to the Southwest, I loved it. And eventually I spent enough time on the website, and it really became not a question of whether I was going to get a high spirits flute, but which one. And the one I got